Greetings, it is I, Tentus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on Hunter the Reckoning in the World of Darkness. Where we last left off, we talked about a couple of creeds you could play. Today, I have two more creeds for you, plus I will introduce you to one of the lost creeds that are out there. So why don't we start with the two creeds we want to talk about, ones that you normally would be playing. Of course, we're going to start with the creed of judgement, otherwise known as judges. Now, they are of the virtue of zeal. They are a creed which seeks to understand monsters, but they do so to determine whether they should live or die. You see, they see evil not as an affliction that a monster may have, but a choice if they are evil or not. And this choice of being evil or being good can apply to both monster and human alike, of course. Both should be punished accordingly. The primary motivation for a judge to hunt is, of course, to punish supernatural creatures. Now, unlike some of the other more punishing creeds, they don't necessarily see this punishment as death. No, they see as this creature facing the consequences for its actions, and oftentimes they have various abilities which allow them to do just that, have a creature face against its own actions. Now, judges can face some weaknesses of their own. First off, indecision. Indecision will haunt you as a judge, but as a judge, you have to make sure that when it comes up, it's not often, that you can overcome it. It's going to occur. There's going to be a time where you don't know which decision is the correct one to make. But if you let that constantly plague you, then others around you will turn away from looking to you to help with decisions, or start to ignore the advice you might be giving them. Indecision can create problems. It can also create problems in your attempts to protect others or to assist your teammates. You could fail to make a decision where acting one way or another way could have helped out. Maybe one of them would be a worse decision than the other. Doing nothing could be 10 times worse than either. Indecision can also lead to situations where you might get in trouble with the law, the actual law, with humans, with their problems. There's time constraints for actions, and indecision eats up that time you have. Allows things to play out in ways out of your control, rather than you choosing a direction of control. The opposite side of indecision, though, megalomania. Thinking that you are always right. You know why hunters have to hunt, what they should be doing, and it is you that has to educate and tell them what they should be doing. Your way is the correct way, always. You know what everyone should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. This can be a danger because you're attempting to force your viewpoint on others, and many aren't receptacles to that. They think the way they do, you think the way you want to. You want to try to avoid being the kind of know-all about these things. There can also be problems with judges that end up being very legalistic, i.e. they have a code of conduct they look to. And the thing is, having a code is not a bad thing, but having it this, end-all to everything and forcing that code against others can be very detrimental. Those others don't always want to follow this idea of the code of conduct you're building and pushing. Just having something, a way you want to act, is fine. But there's a fine line between being in the right spot or going too far that you could easily pass if you are not careful. There's a common determining factor with judges when it comes to their imbuing that's rare for all other hunters. When they become imbued, they encounter multiple monsters. The thing about these monsters is normally when they encounter them, the monsters are facing off against each other. Those people around them, the innocents, they might be collateral damage, but the monsters are facing each other down and are after each other for whatever reason. Not to say that some people weren't threatened or in danger from this entire encounter. Many judges look at this as identifying what threat is best, that this action they had to break down which of these two is the true threat here, and which should they support in a way, in order to keep everyone safe? What decision did they have to make, and what did they have to judge? Now, having outstanding wits and perception are very important things to a judge. They can help you out a lot. Having a lot of willpower, they can oftentimes waver on that because you do have that levels of indecision and decision-making that means you're not as focused in that mannerism. You might attempt to use force or finesse when it comes to your judgment. Both are options. But you should think to have some level of investigation. Investigation allows you to find more information and make more informed decisions, and it can be very helpful. A lot of judges come from professions which dealt with making decisions, facing ethical quandaries, things like medical and legalistic fields. So oftentimes, a lot of judges will have resources behind them. Judges have a starting conviction of 3. Now let's talk about martyrdom. This is a creed which is those that follow it are known as martyrs. They follow the virtue of mercy. Now, like some other creeds, they seek to protect mortals, but they do it in such a way that they put themselves in harm's way. They are willing to suffer the attacks and the predation of monsters in order to protect those around them. Oftentimes they have edges which allow them to protect others, to assist others, but at the cost of their own health and well-being. Of all the groups of hunters, martyrs tend to be the shortest lived. Now, martyrs do suffer from their own problems. Masochism is a problem in amongst martyrs. Many of them believe that suffering is deserved and called upon themselves and willingly take it. Though this can be a disadvantage. You're willingly taking damage when you should really not think about that it is a deserved punishment. You're not enduring that punishment. You're technically there to deliver punishment and protect those that would be receiving the punishment from these creatures at your own cost. There is the idealism that you getting hurt instead of them is a fine idea. You don't deserve that. You can't have that mindset for whatever reason. Whether you're doing this more of a psychological or probably those out there that do take more pleasure from it. It does occur in certain circles. Now, as terrible as masochism can be to a martyr, self-denial is another problem. There are those that see ritualistically almost harming themselves to prepare themselves for combat. They don't see that some of the actions that they take, though it seems to match with their attitudes, are causing harm to both themselves and to the team. There are those that may do things like fast themselves before a hunt. As much as that sounds like some kind of noble thing, if you're really hungry, if you're weakened, you are weakened for the hunt. You are less able to help protect the others, whether they're preparing yourself for that injury or not. That does not matter. A martyr sees themselves as just martyring constantly, and denial that they are pushing it too far is something that can occur. A martyr could give up their worldly possessions, decide to live on the streets or in the hunter's hideout, using what they had to help out the rest while harming themselves. Obviously, they give too much in a way. So martyrs should focus on certain things, taking care of themselves a little bit. Keeping themselves clean is just an easy thing. Remember some basic hygiene. You know, when you suffer yourself, some of these things go away, and as soon as you focus on the little things, it can help draw you back in and focus a little better on the big things that you don't need to do. You don't always need to suffer constantly. Don't think that you've done terrible things, you don't deserve to live. Don't think of yourself as just suicidal, which can go to an extreme level. Focus on the fact that, yes, maybe you're willing to put yourself in that harm's way, but don't just think you're not going to come out of it. And if you are planning just to not come out of a battle in order to save everyone, let your fellow hunters know before you do anything. So things like blowing yourself up by pulling some grenades. Bad idea if your friends don't know you're going to do it, because you might blow them up. Click, oh wait, I'm going to explode. Terrible idea about your friends who are probably 5 feet away and don't know you're doing this. Yeah, give head warning before you do something stupid like that. Take care of yourself. Now, most martyrs, when they are viewed, Well, the best description for what they've faced, the monsters that they encounter, are relentless and killing machine. These two descriptive words oftentimes describe the kind of encounters they had when imbued, and many look to their surviving these encounters as a wonder that they've managed to do. They've managed to overcome the odds and get through there. And they oftentimes throw themselves in a similar circumstance again. So they have a sequel to their encountering the relentless killing machine. So, yeah, Martyrs, they always apparently try to relive that moment in a way, of when they faced ultimate doom and somehow survived. Now, Martyrs, an above-average stamina is very good, and empathy tends to be a very good thing. Though not all Martyrs will have empathy. If you have a lot of that sort of self-sacrifice types that are doing it for attention or approval of those around them, they'll probably have less empathy. And Martyrs will oftentimes have started life with substantial resources, but they're very good at squandering them, giving them away to others to help them out. So many of them lose them quite effectively. Martyrs start with a conviction of 4. Now we're going to talk about one of the lost creeds. Hermits. Hermits are a lost creed of the virtue of vision. And by lost creed, I mean they still may have members out there, but they are effectively dwindled, disappeared, rare, if any do exist in your world. Hermits have a unique thing about them. While all hunters do hear the voices of the messenger to awaken them, to imbue them, Hermits always hear it. Once they hear it, they constantly hear it. And it is worse around people, and even worse around monsters, the things that they should be fighting against. It's this ever-present static that gnaws away at them, so many hermits do what their namesake is. They find themselves away from the world, leaving people and other creatures behind, going to places where they hear less of that static. Many of them, though, are plagued by these messages until they understand one that they know they must act upon. A message about some kind of monster that they know they must go to battle with. They must hunt in order to act upon the information they have been given. Whether they act personally or figure out a way to spread that information to other hunters so something may be done. Now, before their imbuing, hermits do sort of fit this bill of a version of them. Many of them are skilled at some form of communication, but tend to be socially withdrawn, emotionally detached, kind of separating themselves from everyone in a way, even though they can and have these communication skills. They want to help, but are reluctant to get involved in anything around them. Their edges effectively, in the end, make them into a communications officer of hunters. They are made to gather information through their own discussions with the messenger. By discussions, I mean noise that they hear, or through other messengers, and spread this along to other hunters. They are information gatherers and spreaders, best of all. Now, hermits have a unique special ability that can best be described as a message in the bottle. And the fact is, this is something that is not completely controlled by them. Some point in time, they will get be compelled to write something down, to put something to some form of media, whether it's writing it on a piece of paper, making an email, making a blog post, doing something that expresses this information that's in their head in some kind of form that someone can understand. Audio, visual, written, video, all are options that whatever it is, they create something for others. They then take this message they've been compelled to create and send it out into the world. They send it out to other hunters. Some kind of message they're receiving through the messenger they need to send out to all other hunters. But that's it for today. So I introduced you to 3 more creeds of hunters. 2 that are more extant. Your judges, your martyrs. Those that have powers to them, but also can suffer from their own abilities in a way. As we've talked about, each creed its own strengths and reasons behind its existence can also in a way be its own downfall, and they have to face against that and overcome it, a weakness that exists in all of them. I also did introduce you to one of the 2 lost creeds. In the next episode, I'm going to go over 2 more of the normal creeds that you can choose from, plus the other lost creed that we want to talk about, Waywards. But I hope you're having a great day. If you've played any Judges, Martyrs, or even a Hermit in one of your Hunter the Reckoning games, why don't you tell me about your characters in the description below? I'd love to learn about them. Regardless, though, until the next time, I bid you farewell.